People have told stories of the strange and supernatural for centuries. Tales of the restless dead return to haunt the living. Whispers of damned souls doing the devil's bidding on earth. Rumors of inhuman things that still hunt the old forests, untouched by the glare of modern life. There may be more to these stories than you could ever imagine. Join us tonight as we delve into the deeper truth inside these mysteries.
Hello and welcome to the realm of the supernatural. How the devil are you all?
Indeed, hope you've all had a great week.
Yes.
We've had some, we've just been doing some interesting shows, haven't we?
We have.
Got
yes.
Past lives coming up.
Yep.
We've listened to Chelsea's going to be on that one, doing the paranormal news and that one.
Yes, we've just spoken to Dale. Again, that'll be...
Yeah, Dale Harder, which
Dale
you may
Harder.
remember from previous shows. We've done a couple of shows with him now.
Yeah.
He's the ET.
Yeah. He's the Palladian.
And then later on, I'll be on
Mister?
with Jerry Pauly from Hillbilly Horror Stories,
Mm-hmm.
and Phil Holmes from Scared Podcast.
Yep.
We're doing a little show on Loch Ness.
Ooh, interesting.
And other things. And that actually, we had a poll this week on Facebook, which is more believable, and it was a choice between Bigfoot and Loch Ness, even though I spelled Loch Ness wrong. But at the moment, and the poll does end soon, but it's at 59% Bigfoot. So, but I was surprised that Loch Ness got 41%. You know?
Well.
But people believe it. People believe it. Today's show, we welcome on
Deborah Hatswell.
And she's going to talk about some cryptid sightings, basically UK Bigfoot sightings.
I enjoyed Deborah's great one.
Yeah,
I really enjoyed being on. Great show.
She's got a little bit, talk a little bit of the knowledge, talk a little bit about the UK in general and our relationship with the Woodwows, the Green Man.
I was quite also surprised when we got the stats for how much forest we have in the UK.
Yeah, that did surprise me.
Not
how much?
Besides barley farmland, what kind of habitat we've got actually in the UK?
Yeah.
It's quite. Was it about 90? No, 84. 84.
Certainly,
take away the farmland.
It certainly makes the idea of Bigfoot in the UK more plausible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
More places to hide.
Yeah. So interesting.
Very interesting.
No reviews or anything to talk about this week, so we can just get straight on the show. But please, if you can and you have the time to do so, please leave a review. It goes a long way to open us up the charts, etc. And if you want to check the website out, we do put the paranormal stories up there now. So if we do the paranormal news, the stories, the videos, that kind of shit, and the pictures, some pictures will be on the website, so you can just check that out. It is just Realm of Supernatural Podcast.com.
Yeah.
So, without further ado, we give you
Deborah Hatswell. Right, I've looked on your website and you've got the map on there as well. I mean, what got you into this? First of all,
honestly, when I was 15, I saw something when I was a young girl in a park, and I will go into depth in that in a minute, but it had a profound effect on me. It's in a similar way that if you saw a ghost or you saw a UFO, it not only gives you an interest, it gives you this need to kind of A, prove it to yourself, and B, validate it to everybody else. So back then I was only a kid, I couldn't really do a whole lot of that. But as I got older and I realised that I was finding other people out there that were having these similar experiences, shall we say, similar description, similar kind of habitat where it was seen. And it kind of snowballed into where I am today, in all honesty. Each time I decide that I'm going to pack it in, another witness comes forward. So I decided a long time ago that nobody was collecting these sightings and that they would just go, as the people passed on, the sightings would go with them. So I thought, well, I'll collect them, and I couldn't think of a good way of collecting them. And my daughter's 22, and she's quite tech-savvy. And at the time, we had a map on the wall, and we just, put a red dot on the map. And then she said to me, Mum, get it onto Google Maps, because if you get it onto Google Maps, it's always going to be there. Yeah. And you can just, we thought we'd probably get one site in a year or something like that. So she said, if you end up with about 30, you'll get confused. You'll know where they all are. And as I started adding them to the map, I realised that roots were forming. which seems incredibly strange, I know, to anybody that's new to the subject.
Yeah.
But if we're going down the line of these are like corporeal or flesh and blood, because there's a lot of theories, isn't there?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
if they are flesh and blood, we should be seeing lines of travel, and we seem to be seeing lines of travel. That's what I've noticed over the last 3 years, as it so many on there now.
And was
We
that?
don't.
I was
Go on,
just going to
sorry.
say, was the lines of travel based around, geographical features like waterways?
Yes, most
Yeah.
definitely. Estuaries seem to be very popular for some reason. Maybe it's excess food. It's so much, it's a diversity. I'm unsure. Estuaries like the Thames on the Medway or the Humber in the northeast, all across the UK. There are little clumps of, say, hotspots, shall we call them, around the estuaries, and they seem to follow the rivers inland, using them as a kind of motorway in a way. But we did that as the early humans. That's how we foraged and travelled. We used the estuaries and the rivers, and we moved with them.
We always lived on the coast,
Yeah, and the Americans, the Native Americans, they say about their Sasquatch that they followed the rivers, and the Native Americans learnt to live on the land by following them, and that's how they learnt. That's in their oldest tales, like the tales of the Janoskwa and things like that, is that they actually call them the watermen.
Yeah.
Because they were normally seen around water.
But interesting.
But energy, water is a massive form of energy.
Absolutely. Yep. Yep. That's
So if we're going
around.
down this, that maybe they are of the spiritual sense, or that they can connect with the earth's energy. Water and estuaries is a place where a massive amount of energy is made. So it could just be that, because we can go into the theories. There's quite a few of them, isn't there? But for me, it's gone from this little sighting at 15 of me going, but I did see it, and people saying, well, you clearly didn't. It was just an homeless man you passed there. But I've managed to find other people, not only in the UK, but in my actual town, which is a validation for me. When somebody else comes forward and says, well, actually, I saw it as well. And then another person does that, and another person does that, and another person does that. You have to start looking at these anecdotal accounts, as they call them. It's not easy, as you guys will know, in a working class town, to put your hand up and say, I've seen a monster.
That's not advisable.
I think the highest percentage of ghosts you will find near a river or water. Castles are classical places, or hospitals.
No,
Hospitals are always near water.
It's UFOs as well.
There's something there for a hotspot. I don't know, a porthole.
Could be.
But something with the water with energy. I mean, like
it
Stonehenge.
makes sense, doesn't it? Yeah, it does. There are many accounts around Stonehenge that I was just going to say that to you.
Yeah.
The other thing that these accounts match up with are the ley lines.
Yep.
And ancient springs and things that we considered sacred back then. Hill forts, standing stones, megaliths, anything with an ancient connotation and a build-up of that kind of energy, there were our sightings around it. I've actually started matching them together.
I mean, this comes up regular. The ley lines and and ancient burial grounds and this kind of stuff. But I think people sometimes get confused because they think that they're attracted to the burial grounds, but they actually
it's the energy.
The burial grounds are in the very same place they are attracted to for the very same reasons.
We would have been attracted to them as early people. So that's why we put
rather than them being attracted to the.
I had a healer friend. Well, she was a spiritual medium, and she was she used to draw. She's now a spiritual artist as well, and she's actually took physical photographs just of random of the of the plate, the earth, of the ground, and you can. She said, "Look, you can," and she's taken. It's like a wisp, but you can see it's kind of a flow of energy. That is the ley lines. Some people can see them, and some people can't.
That is the Earth's energy. You can see them. I've seen photographs like that at Rendlesham.
Yeah.
And they're absolutely amazing.
They are. They're different. It's a flow, isn't it, Deb? It's kind of a different flow. It's different colour.
Definitely. And we're starting to think that maybe, instead of sticking GoPros out there and running around with tech, what if we started to take some spectrum light photographs and let's see what we can pick up in maybe the different spectrums. and some people can see these earth energies. And I have noticed that many of the people who are witnesses, and people will argue this with me day and night, but it's what I have noticed. People who are good with animals, or are very in tune to nature, or are most people would class me as a hippy dippy. I like my green man. I like the old history of the UK. It's very important to me that. And I work with energy. I work with runes. That's my thing. That's what I do. But I'm noticing people that can not only tune into the Earth's energy, but can tune into an animal's energy. Because all us humans can do that. We can all,
we're all
meet
connected.
a person. We meet a person and we instantly know whether we're going to gel or not. That was what some people would call the woo. That would have kept us alive as a Neolithic man.
Yeah, it's more. Choked to death there. So it's more like an intuition thing, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think it may be. I call it my animal brain. Like when you back then, as a Stone Age man, as dusk was coming, your hearing, your eyesight, your sense of smell, even the touch of the floor to your feet. When you walk bare feet,
ground yourself.
You pick up on so many other signs. I
was going to say, David Icke's always saying, we see the visible light spectrum part that we see is 0.05%, is it?
There's 98% we don't see.
That's incredible, isn't it? When you think
about that.
That's with that's not with your physical eyes. This is with your mind's eye. This is where we're supposed to use. I think this is where it came in 666, Mark of the Beast. I think that's when our eye closed and our physical eyes opened. That's when we lost it. I think that's what it means.
I do, and I think in the UK what people don't realise is they have been robbed of a history. There is a history of the Green Man in the UK from the very first century.
And the Woodwows,
Yes, and we were known across the world as the Island of Giants, because not only did we have giants, our men were considered giants. And when the Romans came for the first time, we stood on the beaches and defended our country, and away they went. But unfortunately, 90 years later, they came back and they were ready for us, and they split the tribes, and that's how they took over England. And they took our history. The Green Man, the earth, the field, the sky, the moon, that was our God. That's what we worship. We worked with that season, and it brought us bounties. And that was made illegal. You could be put to death for doing that. And even today, if you say that you are a pagan or a Wiccan, there is a connotation within that people think, ooh, that's a bit black magic-y. I'm not going down that route. That was natural for us Brits.
Absolutely.
We were in tune with the earth and the river and everything, and that's how we live, you see.
Really done, a good job of reverse psychology.
Well, we was talking to Maria.
Exactly,
We was talking to Maria, weren't we? And she told us about the Druids, which I didn't know about.
Exactly,
and the extermination, we talk about the Jews, but what they did to the Druids was absolutely exterminated most of them, didn't they?
And not just that, they exterminated them from so you're not taught it in school.
No.
The blood that ran in those, this is going to sound really dramatic to some people, but the blood that ran in those Druids runs in your veins now. And in the same way that Native Americans are trying to pull back and say, no, this is our land and we want to go back to the old ways. The people in Australia are doing the same thing. People in New Zealand are, and people in the UK are doing it finally. They're saying, hang on a minute, everything I'm being taught is by a Roman. What went on before, what were my original people? What were they like? And I think we lived very much like what we would call the Woodwoos. We lived within the woods because we were used to being there. The Romans said coming to England was hell. It was one forest from tip to toe, where a squirrel could cross without touching the floor, and there was no food to eat, and the weather was, horrendous. You basically,
Still is. We didn't get that bit wrong.
We thrived in that. That was our... Yeah, exactly. That was our natural land, and we thrived in that. And I kind of mixed the Green Man and the Woodroos and the Bigfoot and all the things that people see into that, because they're seeing them for a reason, I think. I don't think every one of them's an accidental... Because you wouldn't have... Some people see them and that's it. It never enters the head again and they walk away. Other people, like me, become obsessed.
I've seen that in quite a lot of accounts where it's almost like it was letting them see... I don't know if that's the right way to explain it, but you almost get that impression, don't you?
Yeah, that's how it feels to me.
I think the Romans knew the magic. They knew. I think the first time when you said to me when they came the second time, I think they had their priest with them or whatever.
Yeah.
They knew there was magic here. They couldn't do anything without their
and we've then
dark
gone
magic,
from
whatever.
they picked the right period in time, actually.
They did.
Because before that, we were very much clan, and there was no we or I, and there was no gender roles. Whatever you were good at, you did.
Yeah.
And everything was for the benefit of the clan.
Yep.
And you travelled together and you came back together. And then when we started to settle and farm, it became more about me and I and what I have. And that's when the infighting comes. So you've got the Briganti tribe and you've got the Icena. And they're all fighting amongst each other to win all of Britain. I mean, at one point, Wales stretched further than Cumbria. The reason Cumbria is called that is because of the Cumbrian, meaning Wales. It was Welsh land. And people don't realise this.
No, I didn't know that.
We had all of these tribes. You can actually look up your area. I'll pop a link over to you later. You look at your area and it'll tell you what your tribe was. And you can maybe trace your hand. Don't forget, we've got Vikings mixed in. We've got Saxons. We've got the whole, everything's mixed in. But at the very bottom, your native Brit would have been very similar to the wild man of what we are seeing today. I think we would have had better muscles. We would have had better food. We were probably a bit hairier.
It's like, because we're almost taught the opposite to that at school, because we're almost taught like...
we was savages. That's
well,
what we're told.
No, I was going to say...
wasn't savages.
Obviously, we've got like an immigrant situation at the moment, and obviously it's quite political, but you're always told, you're immigrants, you're Viking, you're this, but we were actually here. I don't want to this sound too xenophobic, but we were actually here before those people came.
Of course we were. Yeah,
so they was the savages. No one else who came here and tried to take over the land.
Yeah, exactly.
We wasn't the savages.
I have that kind of view. It flips on its head, and it's like a little bit like witches and fairies in the old days. Yeah. Witches were the good, and the fairies were the weird little. Like better not. I can't say that word. Barstools.
You can. Yeah. And they are. Yeah.
Disney flipped that on its head, but much before that. Yeah.
I think you've got the word again. It's words, terms, what they use against you. I mean, people say, well, it's the occult. You can't go in the occult, but occult only means hidden. That's all it means.
Yes, it does.
It's not
it
dark magic.
To you.
Yeah, but someone says to you, occult, it's black magic, it's dark, it's evil, it's demons. I said, no, occult just means hidden. It
does.
That's
it does. It just means me, and it means denied to
that's
you.
It.
So
taken
away from you and driven underground.
But once that word goes out and it put out in the media as it's evil. Don't say that word.
Yeah, it is propaganda, and it's been propaganda since the Romans came here because they brought the church. And for anyone that's out there, I'm terribly sorry. I am not having a go at your religion. I am just saying. I'm just saying that another religion was forced upon my ancestors.
Absolutely, yeah.
So I think that if we went back to the beginning of when we first walked here, and I mean the footsteps on Southport aren't there, you can see early man's footsteps in the UK. And if you look at the buildings that we were making around the time, they're very similar to what your Americans, your Russians, your Brits, Bigfoot researchers are finding out there in the woods. These kind of A-frame shelters that are made of sticks and can be pulled down at whim overnight. And you don't leave a mark on the wood when you go. You move to another place and you reuse whatever's there, because everything you need in nature's out there if you know how to source it.
Absolutely.
So they could be that these are just, I see them as a kind of a brother or a cousin or a lost relative somehow that has managed to keep hold of that life and stay out there unseen. And many people say that is absolutely impossible in the UK. The UK is far too urban for that to ever happen. I have done this for like 35 years, and even I didn't realise how little space is built upon. Andy McGrath, many of you will know him, actually got in touch with the government, and they sent some figures over, and unfortunately they're from 2012, so they're not that up to date, but we're only 6 years out. And in that, only 6.8% of the land in the UK is urban or built upon, and that includes roads.
Yeah.
So that gives you 94% habitual resources out there. Yeah. And because we never leave our towns, and when we do, we tend to be on the motorway, don't we, or on the train.
Yeah.
And we just see it fly by. We don't really take much notice of it. Until you're actually out there and you see what the resources are out there, it could actually be viable that what we're seeing is a flesh and blood thing.
What percentage? I mean, what percentage of the land is agriculture though?
It was. I've got the figures here. It says agricultural farmland. Only 25% of agricultural farmland is used for crops. 7% of that is free land. So, and the woodlands have increased actually since the 1920s. People say, "Oh, we've deforested." Since the 1920s, it has increased by 12%. So, after the Industrial Revolution, we have started to rebuild our forests, and there are massive plans to put new forests in. Or up in the north is one. I think they're spending £25 million on it. I won't see it, but my grandchildren may. There may be a massive forest there one day.
I'm thinking that maybe people now want to get back outside.
Yes.
Instead of staying in your bedroom with the internet and the PlayStation, people want to get outside and explore, like we used to when we was little.
Yeah, most definitely. Do you know how many of those sightings are children? Outside, building dens, playing on the bikes as lads, in the woods, as I was, messing with my mate in the woods, in a den. So many of them are kids. And then they have reoccurring experiences, shall we say, as the years go on. They get to my age, I'm just 50, and you look back on your life like that and you think, I want to go back to being a kid again. I want it, So what we've decided to do is set up some free meetups across the country. Anyone can turn up, just matter who you are. You can stay overnight in the tent, or you can come and have a brew and you can go home. And we're going to try and do as many, and you don't even have to be into Bigfoot. You can just be into, I think I might try that for the day and see what it's like. Because I'd like to get more people out in nature. As many people as we can back out.
I think we're all connected. We're supposed to be connected to Mother Earth anyway.
Yeah,
we've lost that.
You go on a decent hike, and for the next 3-4 days, you feel great.
Oh, you do.
Because you're connected,
most definitely.
I mean, when's the last time you took your shoes off, Lee?
Well, my feet were knackered, like.
But inside, you feel clean, don't you? Like you've been fresh, totally.
Re-energized.
You're ready to battle again. That's how I always look at it.
Yeah, and I feel that your I don't know, your emotions are heightened.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but you go out there and you feel like you just feel you're on alert.
Well, it makes oxytocin. There's hillbilly heroin that actually being outside in the woods and walking amongst the trees is scientifically now proved. They will charge you for it in Japan and in America. Oh yes, it's called wood bathing, and people pay.
Not tree hugging. Not hugging the tree.
You lie, basically what me and you would call grounding.
Which I've done.
You lie on the ground.
How did they charge for that?
And they charge you, and you also get people who walk people. Now, I know you won't believe this, but you can actually pay somebody to walk you around the wood. And the last time I looked, it was £45 an hour. So somebody like me will say, this is a gate. This
is a tree. This is a bit of grass.
This is wild garlic. This
sandwich
is wood
and a
sorrel.
pot of tea halfway around. That is
exactly what happened, Lee. That is exactly what happened.
Yeah. Is it?
And you stop halfway round and you eat a little bit of wild food that you've picked on the way, and you'll have some nettle tea or blackberry tea, depending on what season it is. And you all have a fantastic hour, and away you go.
As long as you don't have to drink your piss like Bear Grylls.
No, I don't have that.
Hidden in socks. Let me just squeeze my socks out.
Yeah, the wild man is thriving. He's not doing Bear Grylls. Let's put it that way. If he only fed on what we leave out, he would still have a bounty. Because we throw so much food away.
Yeah.
There's so much food left in the fields, and that's even before you start on mushrooms and your foraging and what's in the rivers. I was telling somebody the other day, and they really didn't believe me. I was out in the country park, and it's actually called Clifton Country Park, Deer Park. So there's a little bit of a hint in the name there that what you might see. And the typical 4x4 pulls up, and the lady gets out with with a Burberry on and the chocolate lab. And we're both mooching about. She's looking at me like an alien because I'm picking. I was actually picking wood sorrel. And a deer come out, and she turned to me and she said, "Oh, a deer. A reindeer. How's that got here from Iceland?" And I just looked at her like she was an alien. She actually thought it was a reindeer. I mean, she didn't even know that there was deer in our country. And you just think,
unbelievable.
We need to get people out, but
yeah, most of them stick in the conservatories, stuck upstairs on the 4G, 5G, whatever, and watching to TV.
Well, it is crazy because, like you say, people don't know this stuff, and yet most people could tell you about the 1920s prohibition. You know what I mean? And
exactly.
it's just useless information, isn't it?
Oh, David Icke says, we live in a lunatic asylum.
We do.
We
were just discussing that actually with my friend, and we said that it's not this world. I don't work in this world because this world is not for me. I should have been born 1,000 years ago. This is too manic. I can't handle it because I work with energy. It ramps you up, doesn't it? And are you like me? You can't go into towns and things like that.
I hate it.
Yeah,
hate it.
exactly
I can't. I mean, I drive. I drive for a living.
Yeah.
I deliver stuff and all that. And if I go into cities, it's not panic attacks. I just got to get out.
Yeah, it's me.
I have to get out.
It's just too much, isn't it? It's awful.
Hate it.
But in the woods, I come alive.
Beautiful. I love it. Yeah, I love it.
Well, that's what British Bigfoot has brought to a lot of people. And there are a lot of people out there who'll say, oh, it's ridiculous. She's absolutely mental running around in the woods, Well, to me, you're the mental one because I have a disability and I can't walk very well. But I still manage to get out and do the same kind of things that other people do. And it's brought me my health has got so much better. My diet's improved. I've got a big network of friends now. We're all kind of into similar things. And into different things. So they brought subjects in that are new to me. I'm learning all about flat earth and I'm learning about dogmen and werewolves and all kinds of things that I've never had knowledge of before because those reports come in as well. We do get reports of upright, hairy hominids that have a snout. They have ears on top of the head. They have paws instead of hands and feet and they have a tail. And they normally go from 4 feet up onto 2. Those accounts come in. And I take them because nobody else is taking them. Nobody's interested, They're just letting all this information it doesn't fit my criteria of my group, or that doesn't work for my magazine. Well, I will take everything, and then it'll either be important or it won't. But who am I to decide that? That will be decided over time, I would imagine. I also think a lot of reports get lost to the paranormal realm because we will get. I'll give you a quick example. There's a paranormal team out in Weardale and they're knocking on trees and shouting and doing EVPs and they get a wood knockback. They go back to the tent, they get this screaming howl, which is fantastic. They're a paranormal team. It's what they want. They've got audio. Brilliant. Next night they go back out again to do this wood knocking and they get a knock to the north. They carry on, they get a knock to the south and they carry on and they get a knock to the west and they suddenly realise that these knocks are coming from all around them. So these ghosts then start moving the bushes as if they are crawling towards them and knocking on the trees at the same time.
Okay.
So they get spooked and they decide to go back to camp. He described it as like a horseshoe shape of knocking around them. They weren't encircled, but it was to the sides of them and to the back of them. And those knocks...
like an ambush,
Yeah. Well, almost like a driving you from the area.
Yeah.
Ambush could have happened really easily if you're encircled. That's really just taking them out then. It was more, get away from this area. And at that point, they were continuing to knock and shout and make like they do on Finding Bigfoot, doing all this ridiculous stuff. And the head guy said he turns his head and he sees an 8-foot, completely hair-covered, man-shaped thing. He didn't see the face. It had its back to him, walking away from him into the woods. And obviously at that point, they packed up and they went. That got reported as a ghost. And it went on the map as a ghost because he is convinced that it was a ghost. What I see is some tribal behaviour. I've heard knocking, so I've come out to see why you're knocking. And then you come back the next night and you come even closer to my home and there's more of you and you're making more noise and more knocking. I'm going to get my friends to come with me while they have a look. And then we're thinking, how do we get them out of here without them seeing us? Well, let's just scare them. It tends to work 99% of the time. If something spooks you in the wood, you head right out of there, don't you, as quick as you can.
Well, that's, nature, they get rattlesnakes, for example.
Exactly.
They'll do the same thing. The rattle is to warn you.
Yeah.
You don't even have to see the snake.
No, just a rattle.
It shows a high level of intelligence, doesn't it? That they could drive you from an area and you would just go away and think it was a ghost. How many times has that happened in the history of the UK? Why do we have woods called the Screaming Woods of Pluckley?
Oh, yeah.
It just seems... The Wild Man of Yalham in the 17th century, that's Puddleton Dorset, who was accused of getting many of the ladies of the area pregnant. And they still get
ladies,
howls
ladies man.
and whoops and that kind of. We've got audio from them. 2016, Adam Bird got it, and that's howls and whoops, the kind of thing you'd hear on Finding Bigfoot. Not that I'm saying that's where you need to go for all your Bigfoot information. I'm just saying that's generally what people know about, isn't it? That they howl and they whoop, but there's all kinds of strategic behaviour that go on with them, and you only get to notice that if you study it for a long time. The areas where they tend to be would be what we would pick, so that the sun would come up in your enemy's eye. So you could be up there on that bank and they can't see you. And as they're coming towards you, you can just nip over the bank and go. So you never saw. There's a lot of strategics go into things like that. And it just shows to me, shows a high level of intelligence.
Mm. What was your sighting, Debbie, of then? Your personal sighting, what you seen?
In the town where I live in, back then when I was a young girl, I lived in Salford, and it's a really industrial town. It has a docks at the bottom, there's lots of mill towns, there's a couple of pits there. So it's just, most people would, 1982, so I was 15 just. I'd have been 15 in the March, and this was around about May time. Because if you remember back then, well, you might not do, you're both younger than me. You did mock exams.
I'm 52, so I'm about your age, Debbie.
Right, so when you do your mock exam, do you remember that thing?
Well, and I never went.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's exactly what I did. I thought, well, what's the point in going in? All we're going to do is either watch a film. Yeah, it's crap. Well, our school was an old Victorian mansion, and it had grounds of its own. And over the road, there's another Victorian, I think it was Edwardian back then. I managed to trace the land back to 1590s. And there's this old house, and underneath it is all these mine works. And at the side of it, there's like a massive orangery, and it's got a butterfly house in there and all these exotic plants. And just to the side of that, you've got a sanctuary garden. So it's like lavender and garlic and all these amazing smells and things that you can eat. And the council own it, so it's kind of been left. Nobody's really bothered with it. It's got all these old overgrown rhododendrons and privet, just a great place to be a kid.
Yeah.
So we duck in what we call this ivy den. So we duck in there and we're messing about. It's me and my mate, and we're just having a laugh, just a general, being girls. And I noticed it was only about 1:30, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It wasn't dark or anything. A slight movement to the corner of my eye. And as I turned, I thought it was going to be a teacher. I honestly thought a teacher was going to go, "Ha, got you, home." Or a lad, one of my mates going, I was a bit ready to get annoyed, actually, because I thought, oh, God, I'm in for it when I get home. And as I looked again to take a proper look, I made eye contact with a bush. And this thing, ape man, was what I called him then, leant forward. So I could only see him from mid-chest. So I saw, his upper chest and his shoulders and his head. And he looked like a man and an ape combined. That's the only way I can put it. I don't really. The closest I could get to was hide up against this, but it wasn't hairy enough. It was hair covered, but not on the face. He just had wispy hair on his chin. He had a dark tan leathery skin, teeth like ours, square teeth, no canines, none of that. I really remember his jaw muscles. He had really big jaw. I honestly thought he was going to grab me and eat me. That's what went through my brain. And his eyes were an amberish colour. But none of that I am taking in at the time. At the time, I have made these things leant out of the bushes and looked at me. And without even thinking, I pushed my friend to the floor, obviously so he'd get her first. And I just got off and ran. I ran like I've never ran before. Snot running, eyes crying, no spiritual experience. And I looked back, A, to see if he'd got her, or B, to see if he'd got her and was then coming after me. So as I looked back over my shoulder, he just went back in the greenery and he was gone. And she just lay on the floor screaming like a loon, and I'm running, get up and run, get up! And, just left her. I just left her for dead and went home. And when I got in... Go on, sorry.
No, I was going to say, so it was hair, not fear.
It was... there was nothing I could do. My body just reacted. I just was like, oh my God! And I swore, and I just jumped and ran. As if you turn a corner and there's a bear there, or you turn a corner and there's a lion. It was that kind of, you don't think about it. My body just thought, leave Earth for him, and you just get yourself out of there, which is absolutely awful. And I still do feel guilty about it to this day. And it does come up when we meet. It gets mentioned, You remember that time?
Did she see it then? I was just asking you whether your friend saw the creature as
Oh,
well.
right. Yes, she did. And her reaction was to freeze. And she just froze and stayed on the floor. And my reaction was to push her over and just run and just get out of there as quick as I could. And we never really, obviously we had to go back to school. And if I can remember right, it was about, I lay on that bed for a day and a half and I cried and I was sick. My mum thought a man had got me and I wouldn't tell her about it. That's what they thought had happened. And I just kept saying, I've just seen this man-ape. It was a man-ape, Mum. It was covered in, no, it's just an homeless man. He just, just being dramatic. And there was a real kind of, I blamed her and she blamed me, if you get what I mean. Yeah. And we kind of split as friends, but it does come up in conversation when I see her now because, she just doesn't want any part of this. It's not something for her. I think she's still trapped in the fear, and I'm not.
Yeah, people do that, don't they? They either go,
there's nothing anyone can call
into
me,
it or totally away from it. Yeah,
and it's not just that; it's the ridicule.
Yeah, that as well.
People ridicule you, and it doesn't bother me. There's nothing anyone can say to me now that I've not already heard. So it doesn't matter. There's not a question out there I haven't been asked, and there's not a name I haven't been called. But it doesn't take the experience away. I still have it. I still saw him. So what do? Do I hide like I did? I went down on a shady path there for a while. I think it affected my mental health, I'll be honest, until I was about 28, 29. And I thought, I can't do this. I cannot not take my kids in the woods. I couldn't go in the woods. I couldn't do stuff that I'd done as a kid, camping and that. I couldn't do with my own kids. So there's a point in your life where you think, I either do something about this or I'm going to be like this forever. And one day I'm going to have grandkids and I won't be able to take them in the woods. So it's slow steps back then, really, really slow steps. But that's when I got serious about finding other people. And like I say, I wasn't the only one who saw him in that park. Thomas Markham, who runs the Crypto Crew, all these years later, knows me. I'm writing and I'm getting my name out there as much as I can. And I've sent him a couple of American people who've got hold of me and said, oh, we've had this experience. Do you know anyone? And I've gone, oh, definitely, I know the guy for you. Gets hold of me and says, Debbie, you're not going to believe this. There's a woman come forward from your town who says she remembers you seeing it. And she was in her 30s then. And she feels so bad because she never came forward and said, well, actually, I saw what that kid saw. That she's given me a full account. So she describes what I saw was very dark. The hair, what I saw was really dark brown, almost black. But you could tell when the sun caught it that it was kind of an auburny colour. But this is all in retrospect, looking back. She describes an ape. She said it looked like a human chimp. And it had orangey coloured hair like an orangutan, a pot belly. She could see its genitalia. And it was just stood looking at her. It didn't do anything. It didn't approach her. It just kept staring at her. And she turned around with the dog and she went back. And what we know in Salford is a dog entry. She went back down the dog entry and she went home. And she told her husband, and like me, he basically said, you need to get your mental health sorted because, like, what you seen an ape man in the Salford Park, sort your box out. That's kind of what I got. So she's then in her 60s telling this tale. And that was so validating for me. Yeah. That, oh, thank God for that, somebody else has seen him. Then another woman gets in touch with me and says, in the 90s, probably around 99, 98, I'm in the banqueting hall in Bewley, and I'm with this woman and she has anaphylactic shock. And we've got to take her outside and we're waiting for the ambulance and there's me and her and this grey-haired thing that looked like a cross between a man and she described it as like an old grey chimpanzee, leans out of the bush and growls at them. And just goes back in, which is a similar behaviour to what I got. I didn't get the growl. He looked as confused as I look. That's the impression I got. But as a child, I thought he was going to get me and kill me. Yeah. Then another guy comes forward and says, right, I'm riding my bike, 2012. The one good thing about my area is it has a natural, the Irwell Valley River nature reserve runs right through the middle of it, and that's about a mile and a half from the park, if that. And there are sluices underneath the park that come out in Clifton Country Park that I mentioned before, where the deer are. And that connects to Phillips Park, and that connects to Whitefield, and then we're up onto the moors. Then you can go to, you know what I mean? You can go whichever way, Forest to Bowland, or you're onto the moors and go where you want. So he's about 2 or 3 miles away from where I'm talking about now, and he's on the bike path with his mate. They're both mountain bikers. His mate stops his bike because he's a bit of a problem, so he has to slow down behind him. And these bike routes are the old railway line, so they're like embankments and they're really overgrown, and they've flattened it out so you can get your. But they're really nice places actually to go. They've rewilded them so they're lovely. And he turns to his left, to his right, and he sees, as I did, a movement. And he at first thought it was another bloke. So he went to speak, and it wasn't. He said it looked like. He actually sent me an image over, and it's been used on Michael Merchant used it on a Sasquatch video the other week. It was an orangey coloured, down on all fours, in that typical gorilla stance, he said. It had a gorilla stance to it, and it was thick and muscular like a gorilla. And it just, obviously, he's like, get out of here, let's go, let's go, let's go. And away they go. 2 weeks later, he's incredibly brave, he's back out there and sees the same thing. So that put that to bed for him. He's not really bothered with that area since. And then, believe it or not, another lady came forward in 2015. And she's bought her husband some golf clubs for Father's Day. And they're on the Ellesmere golf course. And he says, what's that over there? Looking at us like the bushes. And he described what at first he thought was going to be either a local perv or it was going to be some lads off the estate and they were going to have trouble. He knew that he was being watched from the bushes, so they keep their eye on it all the time. And he describes a typical Sasquatch type thing. Yep. Massively built, very thick, covered in hair, and it was gesturing to him with sign language as to say to him, go back, move, go back. And you know when I said I reacted without thinking about it and I ran? He said without thinking he took a step forward to go towards it, at which point it let out this scream and clapped its hands to move him off. And then he said, even more scary, and he's not his own, he's got his mate with him. What's even more scary is off to the left, as if to distract them, they hear an accompanying scream. So they look to that, and when they look back, it's gone. Yeah. So that was probably clearly its way of getting out of there. Yeah. That golf course, you can get to Beulah Park within about 10 minutes. And my husband actually did it to me to prove a point to me. I'm thinking, how would they do it? How on earth would a 7.5 foot big hairy thing get from that part of town to the other? And he did it about 11:30 at night, and he didn't see anybody. And I said, how did you get across these lengths? And he went, I just waited till there was no cars at all, and then I just ran across. And he went from every one of the sightings, because then it happened again in 2017. In 2017, you've got a lad out with his dad, and they're on Drinkwater Park again, which connects to this. The Irwell is Drinkwater Park. And he's on one side, and there's like a cleared area, and then you've got the full-on woods at the back. And he looks, and he sees this thing looking at him, and he described a grey one again. It was grey hair, looking back across at him, and then it went. So, being curious, he goes over there. He's a lot braver than I am. He goes over there to have a look to see if he can see anything, you know what I mean, walking away or anything like that. And he realises that it's like a really steep embankment. So where it would have been standing, it would have had to have been about 7.5 foot tall for him to be face to face on, at which point they hear this massive howl. He's got his kid with him, so they get out of there. And they get home and they're talking, and he says to the kid, can't believe it, that was awful, wasn't it? It was all grey. And the kid says, no, it wasn't grey. What I saw was dark. And he says, well, it was really big and it was up on the banking. And he goes, no, not the one I saw, Dad. The one I saw was about 4 foot tall, covered in hair, and it was dark. So they've clearly both seen separate creatures, figures, you know, whatever it is you want to call them. And we've not had any more yet, but it's only been a year. But if there are any more, I will definitely come back and tell you about them. Yeah. In a little town, in a working class town, you know, we work in men's pubs and clubs, and you see something like that. You know, and I bet a lot of your listeners will think, well, I didn't see something like that, but I have seen something really weird. Yeah. And it's kind of stayed with me all my life.
I've had a couple of those occasions, actually. And it's only recently, obviously, once we started getting into all this, that I sort of put, maybe I'm putting 2 and 2 together and getting 6, but
it doesn't matter, does it?
No, it's just, I mean, one of, and I don't know if I said this on the show before, but we were camping in Willesby Woods, which is just like a little woods around the corner from us. It ain't massive by any stretch.
Yeah.
And this location, this really strange cryptid, which we mentioned on the show before, has been actually seen there a few times. And again, I didn't know about this when we was camping there. But this is like, are you familiar with the Baphomet?
No, but I'll look it up on my map. And
Yeah, it's like, it's basically like, if you see that goat-headed devil,
right, yeah,
as
I would call him.
Yeah. Well, this creature that was being seen there is very similar to that.
Yeah.
It seems to like to stalk the woods and crawl around it's like a wheat field there.
Yeah.
But anyway, like I say, that I found out that's afterwards. But we was camping in that woods, and for whatever reason, the police used to come. I don't know if they still do, but they used to come on a night and just walk around there with torches and make sure no one was in that wood. Yeah. I don't know why. Yeah. But so obviously we had that as well. So we made this campsite, and it was basically it was like a wigwam style, if you like. Yeah. Woven trees around the edge, and then we put bin bags up. Yeah. So we could have a fire inside, so no one could see it from the outside. And so we're all there, we're having our meal and that, and it's quite late. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, now I know trees fall in the woods, right? Whether you're there, but I know. But this tree fell over, right? And it was a big tree, and it just come down, right? And instinctively, and I don't know why, because it's just a tree falling in the woods, yeah. But instinctively, everybody, because my mate Tom at the time was cooking noodles on the fire, pot noodle type thing. Yeah. And he just literally put the pan straight on the fire and put the fire out. And we all looked, because it was really weird how it happened. Yeah. Then again, I'm putting two together and getting six here, but it was really weird how it all happened, because the smoke there was only one way into this circle, like it was like this little door that we made, and the smoke just trailed through that door, right? Yeah. And we was all waiting for that smoke to clear, like all just sat there. And obviously
that's
nothing,
because your brain's picking on something that is there. Yeah, that's your animal brain. You keep saying I'm putting two and two together. You're not. Well, your first reaction is normally correct.
Yeah, but this is what
your brain jumps in and pulls it apart, doesn't it?
It was just funny because
picked up on the same thing.
There was four of us there, and we all did the same thing. We all instinctively put the fire out. We all instinctively, was watching that opening. And again, obviously you don't expect loud sounds in the middle of the night in the woods, but yeah, the smoke cleared and there was nothing there. But it was just really, and like I say, years later, I thought about it, because I've heard, people talk about Bigfoots pushing trees over it, etc. And then there was another occasion, which I have mentioned on the show before, when we went out to look at some, it was one of their meteor showers. Yeah. And we got out of town, just a little ways out of Grimsby here, and we parked up in this lay-by. It was nice night. It was paid just out of the way a little bit. To be honest with you, we could have done with going a little bit further out of town, because it was still pretty, light pollution. But we're out there, we're watching, and it's about 2 a.m. I think that's when it was said to start. And then all of a sudden, we're just sat there, and I'm eating a sandwich and that, and as I do, and there was I felt like an acorn fell on the van roof, like a ding 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 ding, and I didn't think anything of it, because acorns fall from trees all the time. Anyway, maybe a minute or two later, another one fell again, and again, I think nothing of it, and then I gets out, I think, and then another one fell, maybe a couple of minutes after that one, but there was sort of spaced, evenly apart, if you like. Mm-hmm. Anyway, I got out to have a piss or something, I can't remember. But I gets out to get out, and then I realised that there was no tree for about 30, 40 yards from where we was. There was a hedgerow along the side of us. There was like a small ditch, then a hedge, and then obviously the field. But and that's all it is there. It's fields all around there. You know what I mean? There's no. But like I say, there is sporadic trees all over. But literally on that lay-by, it was a big one, but there was no trees. I think it was a tree at the end, and that was it. So there was no. And I just jumped. And when I realised that was there, I thought. So I jumped back in, told her, like I said, there's no tree. And she said, "You're joking." Yeah. I said, "You get out and have a look," and she wouldn't get out. But for whatever reason, I felt like it was, because obviously this is before I knew anything about Bigfoots and stuff like that. But I just thought it was maybe some sort of homeless guy, or
Yeah, but
somebody,
that's
somebody,
yeah.
You wouldn't be throwing acorns at your van, though,
And
would
isn't
you?
it strange how you didn't get scared at that one? You must have been comfortable with that one because, what people think.
I was scared when I was nervous when I didn't see the tree, because then, like I say, first thing you're thinking is why 2 a.m, why is someone throwing stones or whatever it was at me van? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that happened to me in Morecambe when I was a kid. And I never put 2 and 2 together. Walking down an old country lane that leads to the beach, and these twigs are flying over we just put it down to teenagers. But it's like 2 a.m.
Yeah.
You're trying to do the all-nighter, when you're like 15, 16. And they're chucking like things. And I remember we were on a kids' camping holiday, in school sector. And every one of us blamed everyone else. Actually, I think I might have been about 13 thinking about it. I must have been a really naughty kid. But yeah, we all sort of kind of blame the other person. But you spoke about the tree there being pushed. Bigfoot Tony's actually have you seen that video of the tree pushing thing? Yeah. It looks like a gorilla's arm pushing that tree over in Wales.
Yeah.
That would terrify me. Well, the guys want to go and camp there next month. Yeah, they're going to go for a camp out. So if you're up for that, just let them know and I'll put you in touch. Well, yeah, that's what they're going to do. They're going to start saying out.
I told you about, we had an area just back in Unsthorpe where it was called Devil's Dyke. And when we was little, we were teenagers, say 12, 13, we used to go out and, swing the trees, do all what teenagers don't do anymore. And then we, and it was always a place just behind, it's getting near a river, and at the back there was a dyke in Devil.
Yeah,
but they always called it Devil's Dyke, and I thought, why do they call it Devil's Dyke? I never knew, and then I saw my cousin a few years ago, I said, we used to play Devil's Dyke, yeah. I said, why was it called Devil's Dyke? Well, devil was there with horns on. Probably the creature there with horns on, I thought, then he was on about that. Yeah. The goat man, I thought,
you call him sheep squatch in the south of America, don't they? And goat man in the north.
Goat man, he said a being there, they call it devil because he had horns.
Yeah.
So that's why they called it Devil's Dyke.
Our early gods, like Sinunus and Pan, they had horns.
Yeah.
So, we're quite used to having a horned creature in the woods in the UK. If you think about it, it's in our history, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Elementals, isn't it? Elementals.
And you're not that far from Bartry there, from what I can think. I've not got my map up at the minute, but there is an account from Bartry of a 15-year-old girl who's playing in exactly the same kind of area that you're talking about. And that had the name like Dead Dog Alley or something like that. An old sewers.
The clues in the name, innit?
Yeah. And it was a place where they said, don't go and play down there. It's like, it's haunted down there and you hear screams and all this. And her and a mate are playing there because you don't want to get caught wagging it. And she said she was really curious about it. A friend was terrified. She said he looked like he was using the leaves to hide his face. And she just described it as like a caveman type face.
Yeah.
And then I thought about it and I thought, that's the Green Man. And I said to her, what do you mean? And she went, she said almost as if the leaves were a mask. And he was using the leaves in the shadow to watch us. And we couldn't see him. And it was just the position we were in at that split second where we made eye contact. And that was, for me, I thought that's exactly what happened to me.
Yeah.
If I'd have looked in a different direction, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing to this day.
Yeah.
And that gets us back to, are you supposed to see them? We just don't know, do we? But we have hardly talked about the issue of Bigfoot, have we? So I'm going to ask if one of you guys would like to come, well, both of you would like to come on my show.
Absolutely.
And we'll just have a gab and just let it go for as long as we can, because I think we've got a lot of shared experiences, haven't we? Most definitely. But what I was thinking is, I know you like your werewolves and your dogmen and, you all those kind of stories. What is because I don't know a lot about them, I just checked the sighting. Do you think that there are either misidentified wild men, a creature in their own entity, or they're just some kind of, what was somebody told me the other day, that they think it's just because people are feeding into it that it's creating this creature, which I think is absolutely ridiculous. Yeah, there've been sightings
like a tulpa, yeah.
Yeah, there's been sightings of canid creatures in the human race forever.
Oh, yeah.
Whereas you go back to any civilization, there will be a dog-headed deity, shall we call it.
Black Shuck.
Yeah, I think there might be a similar, maybe another form of cryptid that's out there that we don't understand. What do you guys think?
I like the idea. A guy was saying the other day, I told you about a guy who was on a radio show, and he was on about Bigfoot and Dogman, and he said, which made sense to me. He says, end of the day, he says, they're here, they're from the earth, they lived, they've been here for millions of years. We haven't. We're not, they've been here before us. So they can, Earthwalkers, so they've been here, they're connected to the earth, the energies, the ley lines.
Yes,
they're connected to Mother Earth and the energies. We're out of touch. We're not in touch with them.
We need houses to live in. They don't.
They don't. So
we need clothing. They don't.
Yeah. So I think they can cloak themselves. I think they can so easily. They use Mother Earth.
I don't go that far. I think
they do.
I think animals have a way of hiding. That's the nature of it. That's the nature of camouflage. So, but no, I get the impression that they are flesh and blood. I think they do exist.
Oh yes,
I don't really go into this. Interdimensional being. Although there's plenty.
There is because
the people mix up cloaking with invisibility. It might be a natural ability.
Yeah.
When we first saw us say I don't know, Andy McGrath always says when you would have seen a chameleon change many hundreds of years ago, they would have thought that was magical.
Yeah.
But it's an actual physical thing that they can do. Maybe we could do that back then. Maybe we could
blend in.
Yes, ridiculous things that I do, like hiding in bushes at the side of Iceland. I have this thing about rhododendrons. Wherever there are sightings, there are rhododendron trees. And sacredly, back in time, they used the rhododendron to banish or astral travel. But I found out, in a physiological sense, it's actually drier when you're in there than it is on the outside. And it's like being in a huge umbrella. Yeah. So the last time we had snow and I was able to get out, I hid in a rhododendron bush to see that if anybody would see me, and they didn't. And the dogs went past and everything, they never bothered to smell me. And I thought, what if it's something as simple as it is really easy to camouflage yourself in a rhododendron bush? And I've got bright pink clothing on and tried to make myself as noticeable as possible.
I mean, that's what we do. I mean, the SAS, they will,
exactly.
They will, if they're on observation, they will scoop the inside out of a bush, just scoop the inside out and then just sit in the hole.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's the kind of shelter we need to be looking for. Not these American bushcraft things that you see. We want natural shelters. That's where I would be. I wouldn't be in a made shelter on a path so that somebody could find me. I'd be tucked in down somewhere where I knew I had a back door to get out of as well. And they are the type of structures that we're finding, and strangely enough, we're finding them on the hill forts.
Yeah. I've done that. I can't remember if it was the police or a security guard, but we was running away from whoever it was. I think it was the police, and I actually just jumped under this bush, right? There's a trail going through, it's the back of here, trail going through, and I just literally dived under this bush and just stayed still. And they stood next to me for about five minutes or something. And this is evening, so it's daylight, and they stood there talking. I could hear them both talking, and then they just give up and went home or whatever. But yeah, there was literally, I don't know, maybe 2 inches from me, the boots.
Yeah. And all your fear is of being caught.
Yeah. And I was in my Liverpool top, so I was in a bright red top.
Yeah.
Chris Turner says in Elusive, it's not just being spotted for them, it's life or death for them.
Yeah.
They don't fear us because we hold no threat to them. But they do know that we can affect their way, and we would go running. In the Peak District, one was seen in 1890, and instantly 60 people were raised from the village, and they went out after it with guns.
Yeah.
And they describe it as going through those trees like we would call predator now. That it just went through those trees like nothing.
Yeah.
All these years later, 2015, you've got a guy in Henley who says exactly the same thing. It went through the trees like predator.
Yeah.
And he's a tree surgeon. Yeah. And he said he's used to your normal woodland noise and whatever, and it was snapping those branches, but he could see them snapping, and he could see them moving, but he couldn't see what was causing it.
There you go.
It was. He said it was like Predator in the film. It just was fluid, and it went through those trees. And they're exactly the same account at Deep in Darkdean, and you can match those two areas by the cave systems underneath the UK. And with the river systems, what we call the green corridors above. So they could clearly, in where I live, where all of the Salford sightings are on the Irwell, there is cave systems that come up in the Peak District. And if you look at the lines on the map, they skirt Manchester and head to the Peak District. My husband's just come in. He's made my tea for me.
Good lad.
Good of him.
What is that? I know.
Yeah.
I am going to have to go in a minute, unfortunately. I've got to speak to somebody at 5. But if you want to pick it up, I'm not doing anything after that phone call. We can keep going then if you like, or we can just do it another time.
Yeah, I mean, we're happy to come onto your show. Or
Absolutely.
whatever, so.
Yeah. Absolutely,
well, that's when we're not recording, I'll tell you a little bit more about that, because that's what the phone call's about in a minute. I think that's to just cross the I's and dot the T's and things like that. But any time you want me to come back on, I will definitely find a way, and I will get back and I'll come on, because I'll be honest, most people are not usually this nice to me. You've been absolutely beautiful pair of you.
You've been fantastic.
Yeah.
So you really have.
It's been a
So
pleasure
full
just
of
to
knowledge.
listen, yeah.
And we do we do the live feeds us. People absolutely love the live feeds.
Yeah.
So next time one of them's popping up, I'll let you know, and you can either jump on or just join in the chat. Because it's not just Bigfoot. We all have similar interests. I think you'd really enjoy it. Yeah?
Sounds
Yeah,
fantastic.
fantastic.
That's real.
Just want to tell people where they can find your website just before you go.
Oh, it's British Bigfoot Sighting Reports it is. But if you can just if you put Deborah Hatswell and British Bigfoot in Google, I will pop up. There's not that many people collecting the sightings. And my YouTube channel is just Deborah Hatswell, British Bigfoot. I try and keep it as easy as I can. And don't worry if you don't think you've seen a Bigfoot. If you've had a weird experience, talk to me about it, because I probably know somebody else that's had it, and I might be able to just help a little bit. And you don't have to go online, and you don't have to come on the show. I'm quite happy to take it in an anonymous. I have lots of anonymous accounts that are not on that map. Okay. I'm all about empowering people, and saying, you're not on your own. There's other people who've seen that kind of thing.
Absolutely. Well, fantastic.
Great.
Thank you very much for joining
Deborah.
us.
It's been great.
Thanks very much. Bye.
Take care. Bye now. Bye.
Well, they've gone. Though just for now. It wasn't the right time for us to meet. But there'll be other nights, other stars for us to watch. They'll be back.